All right, thanks for everybody coming back. My name is Jerry, and this is me talking about Bitcoin and what Michael has talked about. But he missed one great point. He started to make a comment about it, but didn't tell us how we can get out of it, and I will at the end. So here is the interview with Michael. Cannot remember how you say his last name. Apologize.
Fundamentals, and to the extent they're fundamentals, but just even the way you think this market is moving, where are the fault lines at this point?
Yeah, listen, we are not going to get a soft landing. When inflation gets as high as it gets, you need to put the economy in a recession to stop inflation. You've got inflation expectations that have come a bit unhinged. I was saying recently, until I can look my employees in the eye and say, you're lucky to have a job, instead of saying, would you like salted popcorn or buttered popcorn on the 3 days you guys come into work? Right? The leverage has all been with the employees as of the last few years, everywhere, not just in the high-end jobs like Wall Street and the crypto business, but all the way through the spectrum. Until that shifts, until we see layoffs, until we see not 11 million people looking for jobs, you're not going to see inflation come down. And so we're going to go through a painful stagflation process. We're in it. What you're seeing now is big liquidation. Who knows how, markets always are ahead of the economy. And so you look at like the ARK fund, or you look at some of the big hedge funds that are down. That often leads to liquidation. The market senses blood and goes for those positions. And so bear markets are hard to trade. You're going to see vicious bear market rallies, but the NASDAQ sell-off isn't over. As long as the NASDAQ and other risk assets are selling off, crypto won't trade spectacularly well. The bright note for crypto is that I've just been on a 3-week conference trip where you're speaking at conferences and meeting people. It's amazing how much institutional capital is starting to line up to come into the place. BlackRock, Blackstone, Citadel, Apollo, all building major crypto efforts. And so it's completely intuitive to me that there's a backstop somewhere in crypto. I said early in the year I thought Bitcoin would be 30,000, 50,000. Lots of macro headwinds and lots of adoption. I think that's still the range. We're edging towards the lower end of the range. And I think that's just the setup. It's unfortunately a painful one for most investors, right? When there's inflation, nobody makes money.
Let's just 30,000 feet, put your macro trader hat on again for a second, though, which is to say, and I'm sure you're getting calls like this even in the last 24 hours. What do I do? What's happening here? If you're an investor who, let's say, cares about where the market may be, call it 2 or 3 years from now, but not necessarily in the next 12 months. Let's say 12 months, you don't need the cash, but you may need the cash in 3 years from now, 4 years from now. Do you look at this and say, this is going to be one of the great buying opportunities of all time? Or do you say, hold on to that cash because the buying opportunity hasn't even shown itself yet?
I think
Guys, this is what I don't agree with right now. Is why is Andrew asking about for 2 to 3 years from now, and when they have made their money? A lot of these people have made, all these big companies have made their money, and you're looking at people like you or me that is still just waiting to see our returns on Bitcoin or Ethereum. Why is that question? 2 to 3 years. I mean, we don't know if we're going to be here 2 or 3 years or not. I mean, only God knows that. But that I didn't like that with Andrew, and I get to where he's coming from and why he's asking that. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are hurting right now with their investments. So they were expecting a rise to 100,000. In Bitcoin, for the price, or going higher. That's what it was saying for the last 5 or 6 months, that they were seeing. And now it's, 2022, May 6th, and it's, they're projecting something out for the next 2 or 3 years, where right now most investors are worried about right now. What can we get, today, tomorrow, or next week, next month, or this summer? I'll go back to the interview, but there's some more other talking points I'd like to get and touch on to just real quick.
Yeah, I think you got to scale in, because I think we're in the middle of creating that buying opportunity, and you've got to pick your asset class. Like crypto's been very correlated to the NASDAQ. That correlation will over time break down. You've already seen the beta of it break down, i.e. NASDAQ falls 3%, crypto doesn't fall 9% like it would have last year, right? So the beta's gotten closer to 1 than it was 3. But I do think there's more pain to come.
And see, that's another thing, guys, that they're talking about how what I've been seeing throughout the last year to 2 years is they're talking about how Bitcoin is not tied to anything. It is tied to the stock market. So I feel like manipulation that the stock market is all about, and then now we're finding out that cryptocurrency is somewhat that way. I know a lot of people are not going to say that to you, but that's how I feel, and that's what I believe. So you have Michael on here stating that Bitcoin is kind of pegged to the NASDAQ and anything if it goes, and he'll go on to say, like last year, if NASDAQ goes down 3%, I think Bitcoin will go down 9%, and it's somewhat stable a little bit more this year, but these heavy investors are big time into it, and Michael Sayer, I have another little video coming out here later on that talking about having a margin call at 21,000, and I do believe that Bitcoin is going to go down into the 20,000 and maybe 19,000. And why I say that is because of what is past lows at different times in the last year and a half to 2 years. And I believe that since COVID has hit, and during that market time of going up the way we did for the 2 years, 2020 when COVID hit in March and April, we went down. The stock market and all that went down. But from after April, I think it was around the 23rd to the 30th, and on that, it went up. The stock market went up for a good while. So I do believe they are doing a correction and everything when they say that Bitcoin can go and lose 80% of its value of whatever its all-time high was. We know the all-time high was around $65,000, $66,000. So, possibly a correction, and in my belief. We'll go back to the video here in a second. Apologize for the lateness.
Right. Like,
and
I look at the NASDAQ, I think we could be at, within the next few weeks, we could be at 12,000, then it'll bounce. But maybe the final destination is something like 10,500. And what's different than 08, different than 01, different than the COVID crises is the cavalry isn't here, right? There is no giant injection of liquidity to create the V. We're going to go down, and then we're going to grind until there's a new story that shows up, and then take back off again. And so it's not going to be nearly as pleasant to plunge in and buy the low, right? If you did that after COVID, you look like a hero 8 weeks later. There's not a lot of hero trades out there.
So, yes, what he's talking about, what is going to come back. What's going to come back is the innovation of what's going to take to get it innovated. What's going to happen to get us all out of this. So, and what I believe is innovation of cryptocurrency is going to help us get out of this completely. So, I was reading through some other stuff, and this is what came up with how much Bitcoin and the crypto markets and institution money flow out of this year of 2022, and for all the coins and all that. So while in 2021 there was the year when the institutional money began flowing into crypto market on a large scale. 2022 hasn't been the same. According to the data from CoinShare, the overall digital asset fund outflows from last week total 120 million, bringing the total monthly outflow to $339 million in April. April alone, that's unbelievable amount of money just in 1 month. So, not counting what the Dow Jones doing, the Nasdaq's doing, not counting everybody else's market throughout the world. So just lots and lots and lots of money. The fund flow data reveals that Bitcoin was the worst performing among the digital asset. The King coin saw funds outflow worth 133 million over the past week. That's in 1 week. Outflow $133 million over the past week. The largest single week outflow since June of 2021. And if you remember back in June of last year, we had a big dip. Had a real big dip. And then at the end of June and start of July, that's when Bitcoin went up to a new high at that time. And I have a friend that turned out he made tons and tons of money from his portfolio, and now he tells me, he said he wished he had taken the money out and he'd got everything for free from what he had invested in if he took it out at that high during that time, which shoulda, woulda, coulda, is what he says to me and all that. But during the of that last, the King of Coin saw an outflow of worth 133 million over the past week, largest single week outflow since June of 2021. So this brings the total monthly outflow for Bitcoin to $310 million. So unbelievable. In addition to this, it says Ethereum saw 25 million worth of outflow during the week. On the other hand, FTX token turned out to be a surprise winner with 38 million worth of inflow last week. So if you definitely had inflow, you definitely made some money. So here's another chart that I saw on here, and it's talking about Bitcoin during this time. Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Polkadot, Binance, and multi assets. Just the sheer numbers of money going into this. So it says through BTC seems to be doing worse than Ethereum right now when it comes to institutional funds flows. The King coin has performed much better over the course of the year. Since the start of this year, Bitcoin has 120 million of inflow, whereas Ethereum was the worst performer out of all assets with 194 million worth of outflow. So we look at this other chart. So we got Ethereum weekly. The weekly flows was negative 132. Ethereum negative 25. Look at Ripple. Ripple has gained just a little bit in this week, but the month is down, and the year to date it's at a +4. So unbelievable. From a broader perspective, however, the weekly outflow at the moment is now close to that during the start of the year. Since Bitcoin is still up from its year-to-date lows of 34,000 during January, institutional investors are much more comfortable now. The relief rally during the start of the February and mid-March had a big part to play in this. However, they also need to remember that the institutional investor have trimmed their positions massively from last year. Yes, but look at Bitcoin right now. It is, hold on one second. I think it's around 35,000 $942. So, they're talking about the end of year-to-date lows of 34,000. So we're coming close to that, and I believe it's going to go in the 20s and maybe touch 19,000. We'll see what my prediction is and if I'm close to being right, which I think I might be because of what had happened in 2019 and 2020. I think that we're going to go back to that and lose the 80% of what we had lost from the all-time high. As we can see in the charts below, crypto assets funds flows as a percentage of total assets under management of the institution have declined from the peak of 0.5% in 2021 to below negative at the time of writing. This is largely due to the change in the global macroeconomics environment right now, due to which investors are treating crypto asset as a risk-on assess class. Which, but where can you go get this kind of make this kind of money? In the stock market, where can you go and get 20, 30, 40, 50%, 60%, maybe 100% or 1,000% in a short period of time, like Bitcoin and Ethereum and possibly XRP, Litecoin, Cardano, all kinds of other things, that coins that's out here. So while the institutional investors are still bearish on the crypto assets, recent fund flow data indicates that they are looking to take advantage of the volatility in the market right now to make profits by making quick entries and exit based on the short-term macroeconomic environment. And I say this to my friend, he talks about, it bounces way too much for him. And, but, if you know if it's going to go up and go down, if you got so much money to put in there, take that chance. I know if I had the money, I know I would, but that's just me. And I can say that, and I know a lot of people are doing that, where you put $1,000 down or $1,500 down and you ride that and see what it'll go to. Okay, guys. Hopefully I get better at this and anything. I apologize. It is definitely something, you get better as you go. So I appreciate the views. If you would, please like, share, comment, and hopefully I will see you back later on sometime soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.